Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pod Save Chocolate. I'm your host, Clay Gordon, and I'm also the creator and the moderator of thechocolatelife.com. Today, I'm going to be doing something that I really haven't done before, which is to focus on a couple of reviews of chocolates. These are, well, as you might imagine, on a regular basis, I get sent chocolate. People say, "Hey, Clay, we'd like you to give us your impressions of this chocolate." Often, it's a public relations company that wants to send me some things, and um, sometimes, for one reason or another, I don't make time. I don't have the time to get the review done and up and posted and published. Um, and so they accumulate. I have boxes and I have samples and things. And so today, what is that I'm going to do is I'm going to go through three different brands, products that I've had. Some of them a little longer than others. I'm sad to say, but I'm going to go over them during the course of the next hour, and want to not just talk about the chocolates themselves, but see if I can provide a little broader context for how I go about rating and reviewing and thinking about chocolate. And I'm going to make a deep dive back into the history of when I got started as a part of this episode. Again, giving you a little more context on where it is that I'm coming from and the kind of experience that I've had in the, what is it, 20, 22, 23 years that I've been doing this professionally. As always, I'd like to remind everybody before I start, go into the comments, whether or the live chat replay on YouTube, but go in and let me know where in the world you're connecting from. Just like to know where you are. I'll get that shout out up on screen, say hello. And then if you have questions about anything that I'm saying or comments that you'd like to put in, just do that, whether you're YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whether it is, and I will get them up on screen and I will get them asked and answered during the course of the hour. And as I often do when I start these live streams out, I'm going to go and say, okay, well, here is the homepage of thechocolatelife.com right now. This is live. You can go there. You can see what's going on. I've been in the process of reorganizing it for the last couple of weeks, trying to make it a little more user-friendly, trying to make it a lot better organized and more recent content more easily available for everybody. I want to end this intro today by saying the PodSafe chocolate is sponsored by all of the members of thechocolatelife.com. If you're not a member, you can click on this green button. I'm logged in, so it says account here. But what you can do is you can go, it'll say join. Just click. There's always a free membership. And I always appreciate the support for the Chocolate Life. There are premium memberships available, and as this is the holiday season, those memberships are giftable. You can send an email to me about that, and just all sorts of related. Thank you very much for everybody who has been a supporter of the work that I've been doing here since 2008, which is when the Chocolate Life went live for the first time. As I always do for every single one of these episodes of Pod Save Chocolate, I put together a post. This is the post for today's episode. What I did not do is I did not give away anything in advance. So I didn't mention the brands that I would be talking about. But I will be posting the links as well as some photos that I've taken to these products once the episode is over. So you don't have to worry about paying attention to the getting the URLs or anything from the live stream. There will be bookmark cards and images which are going to be posted after the fact that you're going to be able to go take a look at. So I just want to do a quick shout out to Joseph, who's connecting from Oakville, Ontario, Canada. So Joseph, thanks for letting me know where in the world you're coming from. It's about 13 degrees centigrade where I am right now. For people who are not familiar, it's about 55 Fahrenheit. It's been a little chilly for the last couple of weeks here in Prescott, Arizona. Hope that it's not quite as challenging, but I know that that part of Ontario can get quite chilly quite quickly. Anyway, I hope you're inside. You're keeping warm. Maybe you're having a cup of hot chocolate. Because I'm doing a tasting, I don't have hot chocolate today. I just have water for clearing my palate. And with that, I mean, there's not a whole lot to see here on this page because there are no links in here yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to full screen. And what I'm going to do, oh no, you know what? I've got other things I'm going to share, so I'm not going to do that. So So the first brand that I'm going to be sharing today is a company from the South of the United States, um, from Savannah, Georgia. It's called River Street Sweets. And they sent me a really, really nice package with the samples. Their public relations company reached out to me and said, "Would you like to do these things? Would you like to sample our products?" I said, "Absolutely." They go by the website. So even though they're you might, even though they're in Savannah, and I think of them, the company is called River Street Sweets. So starting off, little, this is the first time I've done this way, so I'm feeling things out. Even though I've done what, like 160 episodes of this, there are times when I'm doing things where they're brand new. So what I want to first do is I want to place River Street Sweets into my view of the marketplace. And this is going to be before we talk about the individual products. Now, I consumed these some time ago. I've been refreshing my notes, from my notes, so I know what it is that I want to say about them. But River Street Sweets falls into a category of chocolate makers that or confectioners. Because they don't actually make chocolate; they sell candies, confections. Falls into a category that I call hometown favorites. So a hometown favorite is going to be a small company. It's going to be, it's often a mom and pop, been there for, sometimes 30, 50, 70, 90 years. But it's the special place that you would go other than the corner candy store or the big box candy store, where you'd get something special for special occasions. So it wouldn't be going into the local drugstore and getting a Whitman sampler. It would be going to someplace local, and you'd be able to purchase from a case and individual pieces. And it would be the special place that you would go. I'm thinking of, um, um, when I grew up, I grew up in Southern California. And for us, the hometown favorite was C's. Right. And it was what was available. They were founded in Los Angeles in the 1920s. My parents, both born in Los Angeles in the 1920s, believe the 1920s is when they were founded, but roughly that time, by Mary C. And for many, many years, they weren't available um, east of the Rockies, and I don't even know that they were available outside of California, Oregon, and Washington, and maybe Nevada. But when I was a kid, one of the things that we used to buy on a regular basis for my mother was Victoria English toffee. I now think they're called toffeeettes, right? I don't think you can buy them in a big slab box anymore. They're now individually flow wrapped pieces. But C's, for me growing up, right, was the hometown favorite. It was the closest sort of specialty chocolate store, right? And I have, very, very fond memories of Victoria's English toffee growing up. So here in Prescott, Arizona, where I am, there just happens to be a C's. But I don't know that it necessarily, for me, qualifies as a hometown favorite anymore. There's a place on the Courthouse Square called Pralines. They're melters, so they're buying in chocolate, and they're making a lot of things that they're very, very large pieces. They've got turtles, nut clusters, chocolate covered this, chocolate covered that, the other thing. But it's right there on the square. If you grew up in the Prescott Valley area, or what we now call the Quad Cities, which would be Dewey, Humboldt, and Chino Valley, this area, chances are you've been down to the Courthouse Square and you've been into Pralines and you had the product. So that's what I think of when I think of as a hometown favorite, right? And for me, River Street Sweets fits into that category. I mean, they're not focused on ultra high-end luxury product. It's very, very comforting kinds of presentations. And I have to admit that they sent me samples of 4 different products. I managed to keep all the packaging for them. And I have to say that I am a huge fan of pecans, right? I do not know why more chocolatiers and confectioners don't use pecans. It's a Native American nut. Unlike almonds, unlike peanuts, technically a legume, hazelnuts. I mean, I believe pecans are native to the Americas, and I know that they're relatively expensive, but apart from hazelnuts, they are my favorite nut in the world. And the praline, the best way to pronounce this, a praline, originated in New Orleans as a sugar confectionery. It's basically cooked sugar into which you throw whole nuts, right? Um, and it was an adaptation of the traditional French praline, which was invented in, I forget exactly when it was created, but very, very central to the dessert scene and confectionery in New Orleans. You know, uh, Getting a good one, getting a good fresh one, it's really quite a treat. And I do have to say that these pralines, and by the way, this word praline is one of the most overloaded words in confectionery. So we have praline, right, which is a caramelized nut, which can be ground into a paste with or without chocolate. You can have a version of it which is rustic, so the praline l'ancienne, um, right? Or you have what the Belgians would call a praline, which the French would call a bonbon, and then what here in America, especially from the South out of New Orleans, we have a praline. So you need to be careful when you see this word to understand exactly what you're talking about. Um, yeah, as I say, I love pecans in confectionery, and for me, the praline is one of the sort of the iconic bits of American confectionery that we can brand our own, and there aren't all that many of them. And if you have never had a praline and you don't think you're going to New Orleans anytime soon, um, give it a try. Um, you know, you know, yeah, this is one serving. It weighs 2 ounces. It's 220 calories, of which there are 25 grams of carbs. All of which is added sugars. So it's not a health food by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a comfort food, right? And that's one of the things that I want to point out about this particular company, River Street Sweets. For me, these are about comfort. There is stuff which is suitable for young children. There is stuff that is suitable for old children who are trying to revive the memories of the confections and the candies that I had as children. And so I think for that reason, it's a really, really good choice. Again, can't get to New Orleans, but you're looking for having something shipped and you don't know a source for somebody down in New Orleans who's making these things, then absolutely go take a look at a praline from right from this company, River Street Sweets. Another thing they sent me was a bear claw. Right, so here it is. Um, so the bear claw is going to be it's a large, so it's almost the size of my hand. Palm. It is a very large nut cluster. So it's going to be pecans again, in this particular case, caramel and milk chocolate. Again, this is not a gourmet item by any stretch of the imagination. But if you do love nut clusters and you like things which are on the sort of ooey gooey kind of spectrum, right? And you might be thinking, oh, this could be something that would be fun to share rather than having the little small one that I might have for myself. Um, Again, I put this in my mouth and I am transported back to my childhood. Right? I don't know that this is actually something I ever had in my childhood. I don't really remember. I don't remember that I ever had anything like this in my childhood. But there is that sense of warm comfort that sometimes I just look for in my confectionery. I would much rather have something like this than a straight sugar confection, like a candy cane or some sort of gumdrop or something like this. That this, because it's got the toasted pecans, it's got the caramel, it's milk chocolate, not high quality milk chocolate. The caramel, however, is really, really quite lovely. Would be something to consider. So again, whether you're gifting for yourself just because you want something which is really comforting, or somebody who grew up or loves these particular kinds of products, then this bear claw is, it's yeah. It is. It's going to, no, you know, it, you know, I have to be careful that I don't, one of the occupational hazards in my job is like, how do I keep from becoming a full blown, type 1 insulin or insulin dependent diabetic, right? And so I need to be careful in terms of of when and how and of the many of these things I eat because these are dangerously addictive. Trying to open this up and not finishing the entire thing, right, is a real challenge. I can recommend it, but if you love them or somebody who loves them, as a special treat, go for it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Again, keeping in mind that the category here is hometown favorite. The stuff that reminds you of your childhood. It's really careful to remember. But there's nothing from this. I don't think there's anything from this company that really pretends to be anything else. So in that respect, it's a very, very genuine expression of what the company is about. And they've been around for a while, more than 50 years. So that's pretty cool as well. So from Mark and Yuri, hey guys, in Kittredge, Colorado, love the pralines, lived in Louisiana and made many trips to savor the taste treats of New Orleans. You know, you know, when you're down there, I mean, you really do need to be careful when you are in the French Quarter. There's something that I learned when I was in Venice many years ago, which is the closer you get to the Piazza San Marco, the more expensive and the lower quality the food is going to be. And there's a sense that going to the French Quarter in New Orleans is like that. That the closer you get to Jackson Square, right, the more expensive and more touristy and the less interesting it's going to be. But in the marketplace, which is down by the Cafe du Monde, you know, right, maybe you don't like coffee, and chicory coffee is not your number one thing, and you really don't like it. But after you've been out enjoying a night right at the hot spots, um, on Bourbon Street and Charters and down in the quarter, going to the Cafe Du Monde, having fresh beignet with way too much powdered sugar and chicory is one of the great culinary experiences. You've never done it, you need to go do it. I'm getting a muffaletta down there and going into some of the candy stores that are in the market in that area where they're making fresh pralines. Absolutely. Going into the Faubourg Marigny, there's a store there, or there's a restaurant there called the Praline Connection. There was a store there called the Praline Connection. The last time I went, like the best fried chicken I've ever had. I mean, Louisiana, there's a reason to go, and it turns out that pralines is one of the reasons to go. So I can recommend it. Listen, I've been to Savannah, Georgia. I mean, I had a great time going down there and visiting. This company was there. Well, I'm not that old. This company was there when I was there. I didn't know anything about them. Had I known about them, I definitely would have stopped by and purchased things for every member of my family when I was there. I mean, just, yeah, do this. And they ship, right? Ship now, ship later. Go take about it. It's just like really worthwhile. Let me know. Those of you, Mark is, talks about being down in Louisiana and love liking things. Visiting these things in New Orleans. Have you been to New Orleans? I mean, what's your favorite part about New Orleans? Do you have a particular place that you like to go to get pralines? There's some really, so there's a great craft chocolate maker in New Orleans by the name, the company is Piety and Desire. I'm forgetting the name of the person who runs it. He took a class, an FBM class with me in Las Vegas a bunch of years ago. I've known him for a while. If you're in New Orleans, go take a look up at Piety and Desire. If you're looking for a higher end chocolate experience, I can really recommend them. But if you're looking for comfort food, I actually don't know if P&D is doing anything like this, praline or bear claw in their store, but really, really wonderful. Yeah, Cafe Du Monde. It's very, very sweet, pun intended memories. There's nothing quite like walking down the street. Is a canal that runs perpendicular to the river down to where the ferry terminal is and the convention center is and the aquarium. Maybe I don't recall. And then heading left along the river into the French Quarter to Cafe Du Monde. It's really, really lovely. There are a couple of other things that they sent me that I can talk about, which are less distinctive, less unusual. if we can say that. And I would say just very well made. I mean, I don't think that they're any better or any worse than I would be able to find many other places. Although one of them is something that you can find anywhere, which is a chocolate covered peanut. I mean, chocolate peanuts. Where can't we find them? I mean, if you have somebody who likes chocolate covered peanuts, looking for something different from M&Ms, more like the Raisinets kind of thing, right? And something that's going to be a step up, maybe in terms of what you're finding at the in the bulk bin at the local store, and you're buying other things from River Street Sweets. Go put a bag of these into your order. Pretty good. And also glazed pecans. I mean, I cannot tell you how much I cannot overstate how much of a fan I am of pecans. I think it is an underused nut in American confectionery. And hey, Mark, I think that one thing you might want to try is I'm thinking about your caramelized white chocolate bar. Again, it's using this really, really unusual Dutch beet sugar, the bastard suiker, which is interesting. I would try a version which has got nicely toasted chopped pecans in it next time. Right, I would really, really be interested to see that as a variation. And if you do make it, send me send me some, and I'd be happy to do a live on-screen review with you. You get on the other end of the studio, I'll be here, and we can talk about this and share and talk. And we'll do both of them. We'll do the hazelnut version of the white chocolate. We'll do the pecan version of the white chocolate, and we can talk about that. I think it'd be really, really cool. I'd really, really like it. And that's it. Number one, River Street Sweets. Again, hometown favorite. They're really, when I think about, you know, organizations like the Retail Confectioners Association, I think about the fact that there are probably several thousand mom and pop confectionery stores around the United States. 3 to 5,000. What 5,000 is, it means there's 100 in every state, right? That's what the average is. And while there may not be 100 in Idaho and there may not be 100 in Montana and Wyoming, I could easily imagine that there are well over 100 in New York and well over 100 in most other states, making up for that difference. So that 60 to 100 per state, the 3 to 5,000 makes a lot of sense. And they really do talk about what our memories are about chocolate. And keep in mind that for many of us, our tastes in chocolate as adults are very, very much rooted in what we grew up with as children, what we tasted in children, especially what the special event, special memory chocolate was as children. Another part of my childhood memory, and unfortunately they're no longer around, was on Hollywood Boulevard, just down the street from Mann's Chinese, now Mann's, but formerly Grauman's Chinese Theater. And coincidentally, around the corner where my father's mother used to live was a place called C.C. Brown's. And it was an ice cream shop that sold what I still consider to be the best hot fudge sauce. And they've been out of business for like 20 years. I mean, the best hot fudge sauce I have ever eaten. Right. And it was a special treat. And, it informs still to this day. And we're talking about, 50 some odd years later, 60 some odd years later, my idea of what a hot fudge sundae should be and the way it should be presented. And so this is why I think hometown favorites as a category are really, really important to remember and honor. We may go back to them today and wonder, what was I thinking of, right? You can't go home again, right? If you've gotten into high-end craft chocolate and you go, I liked this when I was a kid, what that's all about. But I think that, again, remembering the places and honoring the places where um, you were then, and connecting it to the people who were involved and the situations. As I said, I don't know if I mentioned, but we used to gift to my mother a box of C's Victoria English toffee every year at Christmas. And the thing for me, which I don't like about the toffeeettes, right, is that they're now individually flow wrapped, and they're in a tin rather than in a box. And one of the great things about the box is they're like chopped almonds all over. So it was a hard crack, well, no, medium crack toffee with chabloned with chocolate on both sides with crushed almonds. right? And one of the things that my sisters and I used to do, right, when we got that done is we'd go, okay, who got all the almonds, or how did we divvy up all the almonds that were left in the box when all the toffee was gone, right? And we'd give this box to my mother as a Christmas gift. She'd open it, would be under the tree. She'd get it for Christmas. We'd share it around. We also did Snapdragon on Christmas dinner. So if people don't know what that is, if anybody's done Snapdragons, let me know. It's an English treat. It's really unusual. I can talk about it at the end if I remember. But let me know if you've done Snapdragons, and if you have any memory of a particular childhood chocolate that you can talk about. And again, this is why I think companies like Savannah Sweets, Savannah River, man, River Street Sweets. I'm getting it caught up. I think are important, and especially around this time of year, as we think about family, as we think about these traditions, going and thinking about them is really good. And there's still time to order and have it in hand in time for your own Christmas or holiday, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah celebration. Just go try it. So real quick, so Chef Jeffrey Gardner, good morning. We have one. Okay, one. Is that a praline, I'm guessing? Marsada chocolate, which is located in Torrance, California. So great. Thanks for letting me know, for letting us know about that. Listen, I'm going to be in LA next week. If we have a chance to get together, perhaps we can. Yeah, if let's see. Let's stay in touch and let's see if I can get together. I think I will have time, maybe Friday late morning. Um, um, but let's see if we can connect. That would be really lovely. I haven't been in Los Angeles in a long time. A quick shout out to Frank Manteau. Hey, Frank, I just want to let you know, thanks for connecting. I got all the email that you sent. And I'm really, really interested. So Frank is somebody, for people who don't know, Frank is somebody that I met during the course of the Chocolate Life on Clubhouse. This is going to be over 2 years ago. And one of the things that Frank has been working on is a product called Crayons Ready to Eat. So he's going to get me samples sometime soon, I hope, Frank. And then we're going to do a live tasting of Crayons Ready to Eat and talk about the other things that you're doing and what it is you're trying to do with your chocolate project and conventional product. I think it's really cool. And if you haven't shipped it already, coffee. All right, I want to talk about the coffee as well. So just really, really quick there to Elmer Pineda, who's connecting from Honduras, probably back in Honduras. Listen, Elmer, connect with me soon. You have my you can connect with me on Facebook Messenger, and we'll schedule a time. I have your chocolate bars. So Elmer has a brand in Honduras called Yocoa. He sent me a couple of bars. We're going to do a live online tasting there. So hopefully we can schedule that for sometime soon. And then Chef, I will keep in touch. Chef Gardner, I will keep in touch about that. So I spent a lot more time on that than I thought I was going to. I was having fun. And I hope you all realize that, when I started off doing this, or I want to tell you, I don't know if you all realize, but when I started doing this, when I started on my journey to my chocolate life in the late 1990s, mid-late 1990s, nobody was doing anything like this. I mean, there were some authors, particularly Chantal Cody, and there's a book, The Chocolate Companion. There were some other books like that helped steer me in terms of what I wanted to do, my idea of what it meant to be a professional chocolate critic. But I didn't know who to go to learn this stuff. I didn't know what I needed to learn. I'm making this stuff up. And what I wanted to do, what I felt was really important, and I sort of intuited this early on, is there needed to be a genre of literary criticism about chocolate. So it wasn't just about the review, 9.9 out of 11 or whatever the number was going to be, but how do you put history? How do you put context? How do you put particular makers into particular categories that would enable people to be able to sort of instantly recognize, yeah, this is what I'm looking for, or I understand what that is. And so I was thinking about there's a difference between Northern European style of chocolate making and a Southern European style of chocolate making. So Northern European, think Belgium and Switzerland, is lighter and sweeter than Southern European, France, Spain, and Italy. The Southern European has a tendency to be darker and more bitter. In France, especially, the flavors are more muted. Belgium and Switzerland, more milk forward, more recognizable flavors. The American style of chocolate making is no nuance whatsoever. If it says mint or if it says orange or raspberry, it's going to beat you over the head with those flavors. But if I set those categories up, right, then what I could say that, oh, this is a really, really good example of this style of chocolate making. And you could say, oh, I like that style of chocolate making. I might want to try this out. Or you could say, I don't like that style of chocolate making, so I'm going to avoid it. So this is why this is where the idea of hometown chocolate maker arose out of that exploration of what it is I'm doing. So okay, I've got a comment here. It's from Frank, but it's a personal comment. And yeah, so I want to go forward to the next one. So the next one is like sort of the opposite end of River Street Sweets. It's a company called M Cacao, and I have to tell you that this is the first time. I'm sorry, I got limited desk space, and I got something. This is the first time I have ever received a box of chocolate which came with a USB charging cord. Right, and what's this all about? And it's pretty cool, right? It's a little late for corporate gifting for 2023, but if you had something that you wanted to, do a very, very short production run of, something really short, or something special that you wanted to do for somebody, maybe, oh, listen, you've just had a baby and you want to give your parents, right, a box of chocolate and celebrate the baby at the same time. How would you do that? Well, this way. This is let me get rid of that. So what happens is that this is a box of chocolate, and what it has in it is it has a video screen in it, and when you open it up, it plays the video, and then when you close it, the video stops. Right, but this is what the USB cord is for. Right, you can charge the battery that's in the little player that's in here. But then you can also upload from your computer to the memory of the little player that's here, whatever video you'd like to upload. Now, from a corporate gifting perspective, right, you might want to send 40 or 50 of these to your best clients with a corporate capabilities video or a holiday wishes video or something like that. Pretty cool. I've got, it's a dumb player, so it doesn't remember if I've changed the volume, right, and it doesn't remember that I've closed it, and so am I going to start the video from the same place ever again? The answer is it's annoying in that respect, but very, very cool nonetheless. Now, this is a box that contained 16 I think they were filled shells of a bunch of different flavors. And I want to say that, and I'll post video, I'll post photos because I took photos of this. Unfortunately, I don't know how it happened, but the box was dropped, the outer box was dropped, and some of the shells were broken, so they were not particularly clean. I'm not going to show them, but this is a substantial product. And oh, by the way, if I go over to here and scroll down on the home page, this is called the Espresso. So you can order, this is this Espresso box. It's a custom chocolate video box. You get to choose which bonbon sets you want to be in it. Again, totally cool. And with more time, you could do a larger Christmas run. This is a substantial, this is an impressive presentation of just any way you put it together. And my memory of these is that the flavors were more of what I would call a Northern European style, in the sense that they were, more of a French style, not Northern European, more of a French style. that they had a tendency these things had a tendency to be more chocolate forward, and the flavors tended to be a little more muted, to the point where if you didn't have a good guide and were aware of where the chocolates were in the box, then you might pick one up and you might not be able to say on the first. You'd have to sit and think about what the flavor was. Now, that's a style of chocolate that a lot of people love. It's very, very French, and it is it is a way of it is a very, very common way to create flavor combinations. It's very, as I say, very chocolate forward, and but these things are really well made, and they're well decorated. So you open up the box, and there's no way to turn this off. Well, that's not true. Once it starts playing, I think I can turn it off. But oh, please stop. Um, when you open it up and you present it, when you look inside the box, and I've got pictures, and obviously there are pictures on the website that you would take a look at. It's a real professional, really, really nice presentation. Can't talk about it more than that. And USB cable and a box of chocolates. The first time I've seen that, but pretty cool. The thing that I wanted to show to you here that was interesting. Let's go back to the homepage because it's not linked to here. Interesting. So, is this series of chocolates that they have, which are called art bars. Again, I apologize. I mean, I didn't post the photos of this. This is a customized art bar, right? You can see, and this gives you an idea about what they're talking about about their art bar. Again, it's in this espresso box, but the art bar has on one side of it a full face transfer. So this is a transfer printed on the front of this. Different art bars will have different bits of artwork on the front of them. And what's really interesting, and again, I'm looking over up here, and personalized espresso bar, view all, I looking at all the other art bars that are here, I don't see them. Again, man, if this is not the hometown favorite, this is, this is, very high end flavor combinations, very high end presentations. Here we have the art bar collection. Let's go take a look at what some of the art bars are. So this is one of the ones that I was sent, right? So you can see beautiful full cover transfer. The only person I know who does full cover for a full face transfer like this is Maribel Lindgren at Mary Bell, but she does it on slab ganaches. So they're very small pieces. These bars are 3 inches by 6 inches or something like that. And you can see in this particular one, it's, you turn it over and it's, studded with this slice of candied orange and all these other things. This particular bar, it's a texture thing. This is crunchy, right? There's a lot of texture there. The chocolate itself, is maybe it's Valrhona, maybe it's some other. It's a higher end chocolate. It's a higher end presentation, but the bars are beautiful. Even if you don't get one of the espresso boxes that are associated with it, this is what the box looks like. I mean, it's just a beautiful box and a beautiful presentation. And there is a separate insert for the art bars that explaining what the ingredients are and what the different bits of graphics are. Again, just a beautiful presentation, really well done, very thought out, and distinctive and unusual. I didn't get this one. If they had pecans on the back, I would have remembered. I forget what the other one I got was. Maybe it was this one. But M Cacao, maybe in Chicago, I forget. I think that's where they're located. But as you can see, the espresso box and the art bars, really interesting. Really interesting presentation. And if you're looking for an individual gift or something where you really want to impress, right, from the presentation perspective, and you want something which is going to be distinctive, unusual, right? Then these art bars and the espresso box, whether it's an art bar or bonbon collection, are really really cool. And if you can get your espresso box, you can upload a custom video, which is very very cool. So that every time somebody opens up the box, they'll be reminded of you. So that's cool. I think this is actually a better use of technology. I When I talked about my live stream last week, last Friday, I talked about this company in Scandinavia called Tele2, and what they had done is they had created a box like this that was either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or internet connected, so that when you opened it up, right, what it did is it sent a signal to your phone to let you know that somebody had opened up your box. I think it's a much more appropriate use of technology than that. And you can buy it. You don't have to win it in an internet raffle. Really really cool. Really really cool. And Hurrying through here. Listen, go into the comments, right? What do you think? I mean, does something like this espresso box interest you? Does something like one of these art bars? What are your thoughts about how they are presented? I'm going to put the links to the company, so if you want to go look, and you can put the comments in LinkedIn, and Facebook later, or in the YouTube comments, and not in a live chat replay afterwards. But please let me know, excuse me, what you're thinking about this, because these are things that I've been wanting to talk about for some time, and I thought, hey, early December, this would be a great time to talk about it for those people who might not have finished some of their holiday gifting. Great things to do. The final thing that I want to talk about today is many people may know, right? If you've been following long enough, this is really really bad presentation, but many people may know. Hold on a second. I think my pods are saying, "Oh no, we got lots of battery left in my earpods." Um, that I spent 3 years as a teenager in New Zealand. Right, my father got a job. The family went there. This is in the mid 1970s, and all I can tell you is that the food was like a really bad imitation of English cooking at the time. Then the wine industry started in development, and by the time I returned in 1989, so a dozen years later, everything had changed. I mean, some great wine. There was some pretty sus wine that I had when I was there, local wine when I just before I left in 1976. But the wine industry, especially in around Marlborough Sound and South Island, just had exploded, and with that, just the culinary scene just exploded as well. It was really really different. Um, and so kiwi fruit, there is a plum which grows in New Zealand. It's called the Black Doris plum. Imagine a cherry the size of a plum, and you get an idea like what I'm thinking of. The cherry, a dark red cherry, and it's the size of a plum. I have some very very distinct and fond memories of Black Doris plums in New Zealand. You can get Black Doris jam. No, nobody really imports it. Somebody has to bring it back. But if you ever have a chance from somebody in New Zealand to get Black Doris plum jam, do it. If you go to New Zealand and they're in season, make sure you try Black Doris plums. Um, there are a bunch of fruits like that I have just there's some things that I found. In Ecuador and Brazil, which I would love to be able to get here in the United States, and just can't get. I want them. And Black Doris plums are one of them. But one of the things that people may know about New Zealand is Manuka honey, right? And it's a big thing. It has some special antibacterial and antimicrobial and other kinds of health benefits. And so you can find Manuka honey with all sorts of different labelings about intensity, right, that are here. You can find. And so this is a company called PRI. I met them at the Fancy Food Show. They sell a bunch of different pop-ups. We love them. A bunch of different kinds of Manuka honey in lots of different formats. And then they have the medicinal stuff as well, if that's your interest. And so different levels of the medicinalness. So 500 plus, 200 plus, 1,000 plus. It's hard to imagine. This is Australian. It's hard to imagine spending $120 for a jar of honey, but right. I'm sure there are people who do. So interesting to do this. As I say, I met the guys. I met one of the owners of the company in the United States. a fancy food show, we make jokes about Black Doris plums all the time. And he recently sent to me, he said, okay, what we're doing is we have these chocolate discs, right? You can see them on the right here, these discs. These are the mint ones, I believe. Um, so we can see we've got mint and ginger and coffee and raspberry, salted caramel and orange, right? And right. So this is showing the bulk presentation. I looked to see if you could buy them in the boxes, in the bags like this. They're not listed in the website. But the idea being is that we have Manuka honey. It has this MGO level, right? I'm not exactly certain entirely what the MGO level means. You can go to the website and you can find out, or if you're interested in Manuka honey, you already know what that means. It's 60%. They're using a 99% chocolate. I don't know who they're getting their chocolate from. It is likely to be one of the big chocolate manufacturers, likely to be from a factory in Indonesia or Malaysia. I don't know if there are any big industrial chocolate makers. I know there's some craft chocolate, a number of extremely good craft chocolate makers in New Zealand. I'm not certain if the chocolate is made in New Zealand. They don't say. But it's kosher, gluten-free, dairy-free, right? And this particular one is a ginger flavored chocolate. So different colors for different flavors makes sense. And it's very, very simple. Here's what it looks like. So it's well tempered. They're using a one-shot depositor into a mold to make these things. And by the way, it's fairly cold here. The door's open. It's 55 degrees. So the honey is maybe a creamed honey, but you can see. Let me get rid of the screen share without getting honey on my trackpad. You can see that the honey is quite firm. Again, it could be a creamed honey because they do offer creamed honeys. And this has got, you know what? I forgot to. It didn't occur to me that I was going to break it that way. I don't have a napkin anywhere nearby. So excuse me while you hear me crunch and you hear me lick my fingers. So the 99% cocoa is probably not going to attract a whole lot of children, right? They're going to look at it and go dark chocolate and go 99%. But the honey, as you might imagine, is so sweet that it's actually in the ginger piece, it's really, really well balanced, right? So if you're interested in consuming the honey and you also like the idea of consuming dark chocolate, right? This is a really, really interesting option to consider. And in bulk at $20 for a pound, it's not stupidly overpriced when we think of just the price of the honey alone. It's pretty good price in that respect. Now, one of the things I will say is that most of the flavors, I'm going to go through all of them. The ginger is actually one of the more recognizable flavor combinations. You can go, oh, I get there's ginger in it. But if you're looking for any of the ginger heat that you sometimes would get with a ginger chew or something like that, you're not going to find it here. So if you do like a milder form of ginger, right, and you like the idea, and that could be because of the sugar, it could be because of the sweetness of the honey, something to consider. But pretty cool. If you're looking for a more natural sweetener, right? You're not vegan, so the fact that it comes from bees is not a challenge for you. This is the ginger is one of my 2 or 3 favorite flavors. There, I wanted to start off with them. Another flavor they offer is mint, right? So it's green. That sort of makes sense. Mint and green. It's the same presentation. There'll be this flavored creamed honey in the middle. It's a 99% cocoa content chocolate. Got to do the whole piece. The flavor here, the mint flavor here, is very, very forward, but it's not as present and overwhelming and bright as like a York peppermint patty. So you know it's mint, and it fills your mouth, and it's got that aroma, right? But it's not over. I mean, it's far less sweet than a peppermint patty is going to be. And again, if you like Manuka honey, the price point is the same. They're all roughly $20 a pound, and right, you're looking for a more natural sugar sweet, right? This is a really, really interesting option, I think. I mean, again, this is not something I'm going to eat a lot of on a regular basis. Again, I don't want to turn myself into an insulin dependent diabetic, which could be really, really easy for me to do given all the chocolates and confections that I eat on a regular basis and a family history. So I need to be careful. But if I weren't, I mean, this would be something that I could say, I'm looking at taking some Manuka honey on a regular basis, and I love chocolate, and so this is a great way to do it. Now, one thing I will have to say is that sometimes there's a little bit of bloom on this. They arrive that way, a little bit of bloomed, and every once in a while, it looks like every once in a while there's some seepage. Now, as this is honey, right? Nothing's going to grow in it. It's you're not going to have any problem. It's going to be safe to consume. So this is a raspberry flavored one. On the front, the honey is overwhelming. The mint or the raspberry is very, very muted. And one of the things I notice here is they're not very consistent in terms of the thickness of the shells. And in this particular case, right, the thickness of the shell is much thinner than it is on average for most of the rest of the one, which I prefer. Right? I like the texture of the slightly thinner shell against the honey when I'm consuming them. And again, this is a place where the raspberry is present, but it's not overwhelming. So it's more like the ginger in that respect in terms of, oh yeah, there's a red fruitiness to it. I recognize it as raspberry. It's much more prominent on the end, on the finish, than it is on the front. The front is just mostly honey, which is to be expected, right? Because it's the primary ingredient. There's more honey in these than anything, even than chocolate. So something to consider. Again, right? Not among my top two favorites of this particular brand. The next one we've got is coffee, Manuka honey. Again, same thing. We have brown paper. So each one is in a different color wrapper. It is going to be manufactured in a one-shot depositor into these little, they call them patties. Makes sense. These little discs. For me, sorry if you can hear me crunching it's cold here. So the chocolate is a little colder than crunchier and firm. Once it warms up in the mouth, it's still not the smoothest melt in the world. Not entirely sure why that is. A 99% chocolate should have a high fat content in it. Naturally, 50% roughly 50% cocoa butter naturally. Don't know where the beans are from, but for me, this is the least well balanced product. I mean, coffee is very, very muted. The honey is forward. It finishes on the chocolate. It seems the least refined of all of them for me. It's somebody gifted to me. I would say any other flavor than coffee, if I had any choice whatsoever. It's my least favorite of these, and I'm a huge coffee fan. And I'm not entirely sure if that, again, haven't had a conversation with the maker about if this is what they were shooting for. Right? It doesn't say anything about. It doesn't say anything about where the coffee comes from. It just says dark roasted, our favorite aromatic blend of dark roasted Arabica espresso. Yeah, no, um, it's I don't get it. I don't get a dark roasted espresso flavor out of it. It's dominated by the chocolate and honey in a way. So the final one we're going to taste today, as we get toward the end, right, is the salted caramel. Right, and if you're working in as a chocolate maker or you're working confectioner and you don't have something in your catalog that is chocolate caramel, salted caramel, this is the single most popular flavor in the world when it comes to confectionery, and so you need to do something with salted caramel. And my favorite, hands down, of all of the flavors that are here, between the ginger, the mint, the raspberry, the coffee, the salted caramel is my favorite. They didn't send me any orange for some reason. Not entirely sure why, but fabulous, 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 fabulous. Salted caramel. It's straightforward. There's salted caramel on the front, on top of the honey. So the flavor is really recognizable as salted caramel. And I'm kind of wondering, I mean, I've done experiments caramelizing honey. I don't think you want to do that with a medicinal honey like Manuka honey. But however it is they're getting the caramel, the salted caramel in there, this is the best integrated of all of the flavors. And if I could only have one flavor of this particular product, it would be the one I would choose for myself. Again, I mean, this company, Pacific Resources, they're here in the United States. They import Manuka honey from Australia and New Zealand, and they also have a bunch of products, right, ranging from straight honey to products made with honey. By the way, you will not find the patties. I couldn't find them anywhere in the shopping interface. You actually have to type in the word patty into the search bar and to find them. I couldn't find them any other way. And once you get there, you can only find them in bulk, not the individual packages like this. Not entirely sure why, but you can, if you're interested in this, reach out to Pacific Resources. And again, I'll put a link to this page, all right, onto the post for today's episode of PodSafe Chocolate, as well as a link to River Street Sweets and M Cacao, so that if you're interested in any of these products, you can get it. And by the way, I mean, although they sent these for me to review, and I have to admit that I'm tardy in reviewing them, there's no compensation here. I mean, they're not paying me anything. All I did was I received the review copies, the review samples at no charge. So there's at no point were they attempting to influence anything that I had to say about their products, so I could give you my feedback. Now, right, I'm going to do a quick roundup before we go, and to say that we talked about 3 companies' products today. The first company is called River Street Sweets out of Savannah, Georgia. I would consider them to be one of the quintessential hometown favorites when it comes to the style of chocolate making, right? Or not chocolate making, they're not chocolate makers, to the style of confectionery they're producing. They are, quintessentially sort of Southern. If I think about, soul food and confectionery, if I think about the very, very iconic sort of Southern confections, River Street Sweets, if you want them delivered to you, it's going to be a good option. I'm a huge fan of pecans, right? And so the fact that I got the bear claws, the glazed pecans, right, and the pralines, just was a wonderful selection for me. Not chocolate forward. I mean, not a whole lot of chocolate there. The only thing that had chocolate in it, well, the chocolate covered peanuts, they were good, right? And so if you like chocolate covered peanuts, and you're ordering anything else from River Street Sweets, throw some into your order, and you can find out if you like them better than what you can find at your local big box store. They're probably going to be fresher, and so in that respect, they may be better. But definitely the bear claws, really, really wonderful product. The second company we talked about, sort of at the other end of the spectrum, this company called M Cacao. Um, as I say, the first chocolate box I ever got with a USB cord associated with it. Um, I don't know that I would buy these for myself to enjoy, right? Um, One of the reasons why is I have a local high-end chocolatier. So we have a hometown chocolate maker, hometown confectioner here in Prescott called Pralines, and then a block or two away is one called Black Butterfly. And if I wanted to have very, very high-end presentation for for myself or gifting, then I would probably just walk down and see Tracy at Black Butterfly. I mean, I'm a big fan of getting to know your chocolate maker or your chocolatier, right? And developing a relationship with them. So that's where I would go. But if what you were looking for was a beautifully made, well made, right? Tasty, well thought out, interesting, memorable gift, which was chocolate centric, whether it had a technology component or didn't, right? M Cacao is a great place to go and look to see if they have something. The art bars are beautiful. They're very well made, very, very well thought out. They come in these beautiful boxes, embossed, beautiful boxes. They've got wonderful little, descriptive cards inside, and they're going to make an impression, right? Again, not something I would buy for myself, right? But I could very, very much see gifting them. And I think the same thing is true for the products that they sent me, whether it was the bonbons or the bars, they're gifting. I would need to look a little more closely about the other products that they make to find out if they would be something that I would purchase for myself. Again, my preference would be, can I go to their shop the next time in Chicago? I believe they're in Chicago. Could I go into their shop? Excuse me. Doesn't say where they are on the homepage. But in any event, right, and they do have an affiliate network. Come and visit us. I'm talking about Amesbury, Massachusetts. I mistook. They're in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Oh, I'm going to be in Boston for the Christmas holidays. So maybe there'll be an opportunity to go to Amesbury. I'm visiting my daughter who lives in Newbury. So I'm flying through Boston, and so perhaps there'll be an opportunity to go and visit these guys when I'm there. Really, really cool. And I'll be able to let you know if I go stop by and see other things. I'll be able to let you know what it is that I think about them. All right. Anyway, enough for that. And for the third company we saw today is Pacific Resources, and we were particularly looking at their Manuka honey patties. Again, I'm almost out of the salted caramel because it's my favorite. I mean, I've got more of the coffees than anything else because it's my least favorite. But if you're looking for a way to consume Manuka honey, perhaps for its medicinal benefits, you want it in a different format because you love chocolate, right? If they had an assorted box, I would say that would be one of the things I say, like do an assortment of like 3 or 4 pieces each so that people could decide, which flavor that they like. And then they'd be able to say buy either a pouch or in bulk for the ones that they really, really like. I would do that. Personally, for me, again, salted caramel is my favorite. Then I think I would go with ginger. I think coffee is probably my least favorite. Mint and raspberry are in the middle. So just if you like those flavors, you know what I think about them. And you can make your own decision around all of those things. Just a quick thought. And finally, let's close out with this by saying thanks to everybody who watched through to the very end. I appreciate the support. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up, a like, throw a comment in if you can, share, maybe sign up for notifications and alerts. That'd be great. I'd appreciate that. If you're not a member of the Chocolate Life.com, this episode of Pod Save Chocolate is, as every episode of Pod Save Chocolate, is sponsored by the members of the chocolatelife.com. If you're not a member, go over there. As I say, this is the account button. Because I'm logged in, this is part of my admin interface. If you're not a member and you're not logged in, it'll say join. So click on the join. Down here in the corner, we have a little avatar. This is me. And if you're logged in, it'll either be your initials or your avatar. If you update your profile to do that, join. There are premium memberships that are available, and during the holiday season, they can be gifted. So you can send an email to member.support@thechocolatelife.com if you're interested in gifting the Chocolate Life to somebody this holiday season. Would really appreciate that support. And then finally, part of the Pod Save Chocolate mission is about commitments, right? So what are we going to do? So, what am I going to do today, tomorrow, next week, the month after, in the course of the year around this concept of saving chocolate, right? Um, because I want this is part of the work I'm doing with international cocoa diplomacy, and this idea that diplomacy is not something you do once a year. We're not going to get together at a conference once a year and then leave and come back. The diplomacy is something that needs to be considered every day. And so this is where this idea of commitments in Pod Save Chocolate come from. And many people think of me, they think of me in terms of perhaps craft chocolate, right? Because I have been very vocal and active, excuse me, just talking about craft chocolate, in the last 20 some odd years, right? But I also have one foot in the door in terms of big industrial chocolate makers, um, because, I've been an invited guest to 4 global product launches from Barry Callebaut. I mean, they like my opinion. So I straddle, in a way, that many other people who are in this industry don't, right? I'm at both ends, right? But I think that the commitment that I need to make, right? And I'm going to, and this is only my commitment, right? But I want you to think about it, is that um, chocolate is something that makes people happy, right? It makes me happy. If I'm working with chocolate, I'm not having fun. If I'm not being happy, it's like I'm doing the wrong thing, right? And I want to get that aspect of it across. But there's also a sense in which, as a critic, my goal is not to tell you this is good, and if you don't like it, you're wrong, right? Or this is the best. Right? In the end, I don't have to eat it, right? My goal as a critic now is to help you understand why you like what you like, right? So if in the end I could give you the best bar of craft chocolate, or my favorite bars uh, of from small makers, and at the end you don't like them, you prefer something else. The goal is to help say, okay, well, what is it about it? Why is that? Right. So if you grew up, right, so not on Nantucket, but Martha's Vineyard, right, and the local hometown favorite is going to be Chillmark chocolates. If you grew up eating that, then and it was your benchmark chocolate. You went there with your favorite aunt, and you'd get, you're literally a kid in a candy store, right? And there's something about that that transports you to a place. It's the emotional connection that the chocolate has with your grandmother, for example, or your aunt, or whoever it is. There's no way I can convince you that it's not the best chocolate in the world, and I'm not going to try, right? But owning that, understanding that that's what the connection is and that's why you like it, I think is really, really important. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to spend so much time talking about hometown favorites. They are really important. As we talk about big industrial chocolate makers and we talk about craft chocolate makers, we want to, I think, be very, very respectful, and remember the traditions that are associated with our favorite chocolates, our hometown favorite chocolates, as a source of comfort, as a source of connection. I think it's really, really important. And that's my commitment. My commitment is to continue to talk about hometown favorite chocolate makers, confectioners, candy companies, not just the big industrial companies. Like, don't go to the big box stores, right? Don't go to the local drugstore chain to get stuff, right? Find, even if you don't have like a gourmet high end. I mean, in New York City, I was very lucky. I had, Stick to Me Sweets, and I had Ronnie, Sue, all these, local people who were doing work, and then, almost every European brand you could think of had a store in New York City, right? But if I want a specialty chocolate, I don't go to a drugstore. right? If I want a specialty wine, I don't go into the grocery store. Well, you can't do that in New York anyway. But you want a good chocolate, go find someplace that specializes in chocolate. And that's the point that I want to make here, is that um, find, in some, I've described it as, I think the relationship you want to have with your chocolate maker is the relationship your grandmother wanted to have with her butcher. So she'd walk into, assuming she wasn't vegan or vegetarian, you'd walk into the butcher, right? And you'd been going there for years, right? And the butcher would recognize you, would have known because of all the custom that you've done with them over the course of years or decades. You could just say, "What's good today?" Let's assume your butcher's name was Sal, right? And the reason why I'm using Sal is because the butcher that I used to go to at Biancardi's on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx in New York City was named Sal Biancardi, like third generation, fourth generation butcher, right? And I goes, "Hey Sal, what you got that's interesting?" And because I'd been shopping there, God, by the time I left New York, by the time I left, I mean, I've been shopping there for from 1996 to 2022. I've been shopping there for a long time, right? He knew what I liked, right? And I could just ask that simple question, and he would be able to say, "Ooh, something special came in. You might want to know about." And I think that's how you want to be able to talk to your chocolatier, the person behind the counter. You get to know them, they get to know you. You can say, "Ooh, got an interesting flavor? What's freshest?" All this kind of stuff, and they'll be able to say, "I got something for you. You want to try this?" Right? And it's that connection that I want to make sure that, as I traverse the world of small chocolate to the largest industrial makers, from big estate farms to individual smallholder farmers around the world, that we don't lose that connection, and that commitment, to the relationship we have with the people that we're buying our chocolate from. And that's what I'm going to commit to. And so hopefully what you will do is you'll think about that and you'll go, okay, in the comments, whether it's on the chocolatelife.com, you have to be a member, to post a comment on the chocolatelife.com, but you can do it on YouTube, and you can do it on Facebook, and you can do it on LinkedIn. You can, all of those things, let me know what you're going to commit to. And with that, before I close out, just a quick shout out to Joseph, who's connecting from Oakville, Ontario. I didn't have to scroll. Oh, it's right at the top. I could have seen Oakville, Ontario. I appreciate, Joseph, that you really liked the session today. It was an interesting attempt for me. I hadn't done something quite this way before. And the last thing I want to say before I say thank you very much and close out today's episode is, if you're a confectioner or you're a chocolate maker and you'd like me to do something like this with your products at any time in the future, there is going to be a link in the PodSafe Chocolate post. There's going to be a link in this post today. It's not there now, but I am going to post it before the end of the day. There will be a link in here where you can email me and you can say, "Hey, Clay, I'd like to talk to you about doing something like this in the future." Part of PodSafe Chocolate is I want to connect more closely with chocolate makers and confectioners about their products. And so, in that respect, this coming Friday, which is the 8th of December, we're going to be speaking with Tom Rogan of Good Now Farms. They just came back from the International Chocolate Awards in Italy with armfuls. I would say boatloads, but nautical references are not appropriate. So armfuls of awards. They recently produced a very, very limited edition bar using Neo Criollos from Nicaragua called Yasica Especial. We're going to be doing a live tasting. Tom and I are going to be doing that on Friday. Then on Friday the 15th, I'm going to be doing a call with Terry Collingsworth of International Rights Advocates. I'm just going to be talking about the new lawsuit that IRA filed against Mars based on the CBS reporting that we talked about in last Friday's live stream episode of PodSafe Chocolate. And on the 19th, I'm going to be speaking with Anthony Fountain, who is one of the co-founders of the Voice Network, and we'll be talking about the impact of the EUDR, the European Deforesting Regulations, which are going to come into effect full effect 1 year from now. They're starting to be phased in right now. Right, lots of stuff going on. Seems like nonstop and full of chatter, at least on my end. And thanks everybody for participating, and we will be back on the next episode of PodSafe Chocolate. Until then, everybody, ciao and have a great time.